Most cartoons teach you how to grow up. Regular show shows you what happens when you refuse to. It's loud, it's absurd, and it's a slacker comedy until you realize slacking is actually a defensive crutch against the future. You realize two characters with no ambition working at a dead-end job yelling at each other and turning the tiniest problem into something insane. As a kid, you think that's a jokey joke, but by the end of this video, you will understand why Regular Show wasn't just random chaos. It was about silently avoiding growing up and what happens when time keeps moving forward even if you don't. In the beginning, Regular Show feels carefree. Mordecai and Rigby are basically the firm believers of, "Mom, just 5 more minutes." When you're young, that lifestyle feels like a win, like you successfully cheated the system. You want every day to be a loop of video games, snacks, because real life still feels like a problem for future you to solve. The park is essentially a waiting room for the rest of your life. When you're young, that lack of pressure feels like the ultimate freedom. But as an adult, you realize that place is where nothing changes. It's a place where you can't grow. It's not a utopia, it's a trap that feels too good to leave. Mordecai and Rigby aren't bad people, not even villains. Sadly, they're just stuck, and the show never rests to fix that. It's not the work that breaks the world, it's the avoidance. The show understands that when you ignore the small stuff, you're essentially feeling a monster. By the time of the climax hits, they're not even fighting a villain, they're just fighting the physical spectacle of their own laziness. As a kid, you laugh at how silly it gets, and as an adult, you recognize the feelings formed beneath it. In the moment where something feels overwhelming, not because it's hard, but because it symbolizes responsibility.
To put the hurt on you? I think he wants me to put the hurt on him.
I think he wants you to put the hurt on him.
You think he wants me to put the hurt on him?
Yes, I do. Yay, I did.
The thing about Regular Show is that it never really lectures. It doesn't tell you, hey, this is bad. It just shows what happens when avoidance becomes a lifestyle you choose. On surface, you got loud gags and neon colors, but 90% of the show is actually a quite heavy meditation on things like isolation, stagnation, and the fear of growing up. Mordecai is staring at the exit, but he's standing there without his keys. Rigby is white-knuckling the door handle because he thinks leaving that room means losing the only world where he actually matters. The show just keeps them locked in that same hallway, waiting to see who's gonna blink first. When I was younger, I thought the show was about wild cosmic isolation. As an adult, it's actually about time slipping away. The fact that the park job never improves.
Dude, his weakness is furniture. Burn it.
I can't do it!
Aw, man. We were totally gonna beat it. Dude, we gotta find another TV.
And the same mistakes keep repeating isn't on accident. The sound of the clock ticking while they pretend they can't hear it. Regular Show doesn't feel like a coming of age story. It feels like a story about refusing to arrive. It's not about the journey, it's about the resistance. That's why it sneaks up on you later on in life.
Like, that'll never happen. And then we'll get all cool and you'll be all like, whoa, and then we'll be all like, in your face. And then I'll be all like, get back to work.
Because you finally realize arriving means the playground is officially closed. This is heavy, beautiful way to frame it. As episodes go on, it becomes clear that Mordecai and Rigby aren't stuck in the same way. They're stuck for opposite reasons. Let me explain. Mordecai is the classic smartest guy in the room who never actually leaves the room. He has this low itch of ambition, the kind that makes you feel restless but doesn't actually give you a map. He's not a dreamer, he's just a guy who's aware enough to be unhappy with the status quo, but too scared to risk the park for a future he can't see yet. As a kid, Mordecai feels relatable because he's chill. As an adult, he feels relatable because he's hesitant, he waits, he overthinks, he constantly tells himself he'll figure it out later. In the park, he's just Rigby, but in the real world, he's just a guy with no degree, no plan, no prospects. He just clings to the loop because it's the only place where he isn't failing. He doesn't want to win. He just wants to stop the score from being kept. Rigby knows he's behind. He knows that Mordecai is smarter and capable and way more respected. So instead of trying to play the game of catch up, Rigby pulls Mordecai back, not for some hater stuff, but for fairly.
You know, you guys have been working harder. I think you deserve a raise. We can negotiate your new rates later in the week, but for now, how's $20 sound? Keep up the good work.
Do you realize what this means?
We can fix the hole?
No, we can do everything we ever wanted!
Let's be clear, Rigby isn't lazy because he doesn't care. He's lazy because effort risks exposure, and if he tries and fails, his excuses would disappear. That's another reason why Rigby hates when Mordecai talks about goals, and goals imply movement, therefore movement implies separation. When we was younger, their arguments felt like comedy. Now that we're older, they feel like tension between friends. One friend wants to grow, and the other friend is terrified of being left behind. The real tragedy is that Mordecai is the enabler of his own stagnation. He used Rigby's fear as a shield so he doesn't have to face his own. It's easier to let Rigby hold him back than to admit that he's scared to move forward alone. Stagnation is a shared bed, and Mordecai is just as guilty for staying in it.
See?
So we getting it?
I can't believe you tried to pawn off that junky foosball table on us.
Sorry, Jeeves. At least it was pretty much brand new. That old stick hockey game was a piece of junk.
Oh, of course you think that.
This is where regular show becomes uncomfortable. As an adult, it's not about bad choices, it's about no choices. We spent our childhoods hating Benson because we thought he was killing the vibe, but as an adult, you realize he's the only one trying to save them. He yells because he sees the holding cell for what it is. To Mordecai and Rigby, he's a buzzkill. As a kid, Benson feels unfair. As an adult, he feels accurate. The tension between Mordecai and Rigby isn't solved here, it festers. Avoiding works until it doesn't, and regular show is patient enough to let them know that reckoning will come naturally. The most unsettling thing about regular show isn't the interdimensional monster or the cosmic gods. It's the fact that nothing really changes. This isn't because the show lacks imagination, it's because it chooses repetition. The park job never improves. The days loop, the task resets, and the consequences are always just delayed enough to be ignored. As a kid, that cycle feels safe, it's harmless, but as an adult, it feels like a warning. Mordecai and Rigby don't hate their job because it's difficult, they hate it because it's stagnant. There's no growth, no progression, no visible exit, and instead of confronting that void, they distract themselves.
Please, you can't do this to us!
Yeah, Benson, this is messed up.
Well, too bad. Until I see
What
that
makes this that nothing happens. Time passes, energy fades, and your potential remains purely abstract because nothing is exposed right away. It feels safe to stay put. That's the trap. Regular show exposes avoidance feels like a victimless crime when the consequences are slow to arrive. This is the only context where Benson's anger actually makes sense. He's not a villain. He's the alarm clock you keep trying to snooze. He isn't mad about the chores. He's mad about the pattern. He knows later isn't an infinite resource. The longer they avoid responsibility, the louder Benson gets because time doesn't stop just because you're comfortable. This is where regular show separates itself from every other slacker cartoon. It doesn't punish its characters for being bad. It punishes for staying still. Even when the situation resets, the frustration accumulates, relationships strain, and opportunities quickly pass them by. As a kid, you don't notice the weight of the episodes stacking up, but as an adult, it feels painfully real. Stagnation doesn't announce itself with a bang, it just becomes your normal regular show. That normality sits until it's heavy enough to crush you. By the time you reach the latest seasons of regular show, something has shifted, not in a dramatic way, and certainly not all at once. But the weight is there. Mordecai and Rigby don't feel young anymore. They feel tired. The chaos is still present, the jokes are still loud, and the escalation is still absurd. But underneath it, there's a quiet pressure building. Time has been passing, and the question the show keeps circling is simple. How long can you stay here before staying here becomes a choice? As a kid, the park feels infinite. As an adult, it feels temporary. Mordecai starts confronting this first. He realized that wanting more isn't enough. He actually has to move, and movement means risk. It means failure, embarrassment, and the terrifying possibility of outgrowing the people who aren't ready to change. The show doesn't shame either of them. It doesn't say one is right and the other is wrong. It just shows what happens when people grow at different speeds. That's the most adult thing regular show ever does. It acknowledges that friendship alone doesn't stop time. Rigby eventually has to face the thing he's been avoiding, not words, work, not responsibility, but his own self-worth. Rigby growth isn't flashy, it's slow, messy, and earned, and that's why it feels real. The show doesn't promise success, it promises movement, and movement is enough. Regular show was never about slacking off, it was about the fear of moving on. That fear if you try, you might fail, and the fear that if you change, you might lose the people you love. As a kid, that fear feels abstract. As an adult, it feels personal. The show doesn't tell you when to grow up. It just asks whether you're choosing comfort or choosing forward motion. That's why regular show feels different now. Not because it changed, because you did. Do you relate more to Mordecai wanting more but hesitating? Or Rigby afraid to change because staying feels safer? Because chances are, at some point, you've been both.